preference, honestly, to have one this early in the year. I think we'd like to play probably till the middle of the season, or ideally, but schedule just turned out this way, and so we're having one here 2 weeks into the season, and really never a bad time, I guess, in some ways. We'll certainly be able to use the rest and the extra practice and preparation, all that stuff, for the upcoming game. But I think we'll have a good week of practice. We gave our guys today off and yesterday off, and then we'll come back in, have pretty heavy practices Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then kind of get into our weekly routine really on Sunday the next week. And so it'll give us one extra day to kind of rest up on the back end for SMU. So anyway, that's the schedule coming up. I think our guys are appreciating the break, hopefully getting rested and take care of themselves and focusing on academics and having a good week. And then, like I said, we'll get after it tomorrow at practice and go from there.
Coach, what are your thoughts on where the offense is right now after 2 weeks?
I think it's in a good spot. I don't think it's in a great spot. I think that we've played probably 6 pretty good quarters of football so far, offensively. Second half of Colorado, I thought we played well. Scored every possession except the last one that we took a knee on. And then I think we scored every possession the other night. I know we fumbled going into the end zone one time, and then punted one time, and then ran the clock out at the end. So, I think they're executing well. It's probably not as clean as we want it to be. I don't think that anybody really across football, pro football, college football, is probably executing quite as clean as they would like to, or quite as clean as they need to. But I think we're making some plays. We got a lot of good players. We had a lot of guys catch balls the other day. I think we had 18 different offensive players touch the football in the Tarleton game. And so, we're getting it spread around to different people, and guys are making plays when they have opportunities to do it. But, there's still a lot of stuff we got to get cleaned up. And the one thing I do like is we've only turned it over once, and we have to continue to take care of the football that way.
Speaking of pass catchers, do you have an update on Savion and Quincy, their status?
Yeah, Quincy's probably going to be out for a while. I would anticipate Savion practicing tomorrow and being back at it full speed.
Max is number 1 with that quarterback rating. The second place guy's not even that close. His efficiency, the difference between him, what you saw in fall camp and what you saw in that game. Anything stand out?
Yeah, I think Max is just getting more and more comfortable with what we're doing offensively. I thought he made really good decisions the other night. He's doing a good job taking care of the ball. Went back this morning to rewatch the Tarleton game just to kind of look at some things that felt like we needed to improve on, and thought he did a good job staying in the pocket when he needed to, and thought he did a good job leaving the pocket when the situation called for him to leave it. And then he did a good job completing passes and getting the ball to guys out there that can make plays. And I think, we've said it before, I think in a lot of ways, the quarterback position is much like a point guard. You just distribute the ball to people and kind of let them do what they do. And Max has done a really good job of doing that so far. And as I said, he gets more comfortable, more confident, the more games that he plays and the more reps that he gets in practice. He'll continue to get better and better. It's like anything else. We know things are going to have to be more precise as we get along through the schedule. Certainly, we're going to play better teams than we've played the first 2 weeks. And when you play against better competition, you have to perform better, and your precision has to be better. Ball's got to come out on time. Ball's got to be thrown in the right spot. Routes have to be sharp. Got to do a great job picking things up on the offensive line and running back position. So all those things kind of go hand in hand together. But I feel like, Max gets better, every time he goes out and practices, and certainly every time he plays.
Last week you talked a little bit about, not concerned, but keeping an eye on the depth at linebacker. Were you able to work some guys in to get them some reps against Tarleton?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel better about that group. It's like everything else. There's no college football team, pro football team, whoever it is, feels like they have all the depth they need. And you always worry about some spots. We had a couple of injuries at the linebacker position. You know, our hope is we'll get Marcel back pretty quickly, and that'll give us another healthy body once we get him back. And so, you know, it's in a lot of ways it's kind of been football by committee. You know, with the defensive front, some in the back end, at running back, at wide receiver, some positions for us. We feel like we've got a significant amount of depth and a bunch of guys that can play, and I think that there's starting to be some younger guys that emerge at that linebacker spot.
Players seem to all kind of have a similar message you did about the SMU game after the Tarleton game. They're a good team, but they're treating it like it's another game. I guess, why do you think it's important to go with that messaging as opposed to a rivalry game that beats you?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of always been my approach. I know the narrative here at TCU when we were at SMU was that we put all our chips in the table and did all this for that game. I mean, we had the same approach over there when I was there that we're having over here. I mean, you get 12 chances to play, 12 guaranteed games, and that's it. And you better play well in all of them. Nobody really cares who you play well. I mean, Tarleton, people say Tarleton's not a big game until you lose to Tarleton, then all of a sudden it's a huge game, you know. And so it's like anything else. I mean, you know, you get to play the games on your schedule. They're all important. There's not that many of them. These players, you know, work 300 plus days a year for 12 opportunities, and so, you know, you want to go out there and make the most of all of them. You know, that's football. I mean, you're going to play, you know, the week after we play SMU, we play Oklahoma. I've heard of them. You know, they're pretty good. And so, you know how it is. I mean, we've just got to, our schedule's going to be like that. The Big 12 is really good. And so, you know, we don't need to circle games. I don't want to be that kind of program, you know, where we circle games. And I think that's a step we can make in the right direction. I mean, you know, and learn from, you know, learn from our experiences.
With that said, do you track the Big 12 and like how
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
teams
sure, you do.
and to compare it to other leagues?
You do some. I mean, you know, obviously pay attention to scores, and I'm a big believer in trends. You know, I just think that trends tell you a lot, really, about what's going on, just in terms of what's happening and momentum and all those kind of things. I think are really important. And so, you know, to me, the Big 12 is certainly trending in the right direction. When you just look around the league, you know, there's good football teams. They're competitive. You know, they're playing really well in some of the non-conference games. You know, and there's been some competitive ones. Obviously, saw the Baylor BYU game the other night. It's a heck of a ball game. Two good football teams, and a future member of our league that's a very good football team. And so, you pay attention to that kind of stuff, but at the same time, you know, at the end of the day, you're worried about your own team and you know, just making sure that you continue to get better and that you're trending in the right direction.
So like you said, not circling games and not getting caught up. We're all human, you person. You were on the other side last year. This was a rivalry. We all know what happened in the game, and we all know there's people at SMU that weren't happy because you left.
Sure.
How do you kind of put all that together going into next week?
Truly, just by knowing that, from experience, by doing this for a long time, that truly every game is vital and really, really important. And I don't take any of this stuff personal. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not healthy. It's hard to stay in this profession for very long if you do take everything personal. It's hard to stay sane and keep your sanity, and I choose to try to keep mine. And so, you know, we get to play another game a week from Saturday, and you know, my focus is on our team and how can we get better. And I don't think standing up and in front of our team and, you know, pleading for them and, you know, doing all this stuff. I mean, these guys know. I mean, they know what's going on. We'll never talk about it. I'll never mention it. I don't have to. And so, because of that, I mean, it's going to be fine. We'll just try to get ready to go play another game and try to put our best foot forward and play well.
Some of these guys, obviously, TCU haven't been there because of the fact 2 years and then the COVID year where the game didn't get played. What do you tell them about what to expect atmosphere-wise going over there for this kind of game?
You know, we won't really talk about that. I mean, that's something that, you know, I mean, look, our guys are going to play on the road in the Big 12. We're going to play in front of 100,000 people. when you go play in this league. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so, I think our guys will be in a good spot that way.
Speaking of environment, 6,000 students checked in for the game on Saturday night
Yeah.
here. What did you think about the home?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, no, I thought, you know, Amon Carter Stadium it's a beautiful facility, first of all. It's a great setting on game day. But it's a whole lot better when the stadium's full and rocking, and it's got a good atmosphere like we had on Saturday night. It's a fun place to get a chance to play, I know, for our players. It's a fun place to coach, and it's just a fantastic facility. And it was good to have that many students out. I mean, I think, same thing, I mean, the students only get so many opportunities to go to those games and those events. We have 6 home games this year, and we only have 5 left. And so the students did an unbelievable job coming early. They were loud, they were involved. I think they stayed longer than I thought they would, you know, considering kind of the way the game went. And I was really impressed with them and very appreciative for them trying to, you know, get out and support their classmates. And really that's what it is. I mean, you know, the one thing that we've tried to do is a football program is understand that, you know, in order to ask for something, you have to give something. And we're trying to give our support to other sports, whether it's basketball, women's basketball, trying to get our players to get involved in on-campus community and organizations and that type of thing, so that they'll get to know some of their classmates better. You know, these guys are busy over here all the time, but you want them to have as much of a college experience as they can, and a big part of that experience is to go and attend sporting events and you know, organizations and things on campus, and kind of go be a part of those. And so, you know, our players, I know they were very appreciative. I heard some guys talking about how impressed they were with the fan support and what a great atmosphere it was, and I certainly felt that way.
TCU and SMU, it seems that both divisions are even more invested in the game than they have been in quite some time, with SMU having some success recently.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, how important is preserving this game when it comes to just college football and DFW and rivalry games, you know, throughout Texas?
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think it makes sense for teams that are close to each other to play each other. You know, that's why it makes so much sense for USC to be in the Big Ten, because, you know, they're right there next to each other. Yeah, but I think that, you know, I think that that's part of the rivalry of college football. That's what makes this thing great, you know, is that a lot of these folks grew up together, went to high school together, then went their separate ways for college, and now they're at the water cooler on Monday, and you know, I think that's part of what you know, part of what makes college football great is that. And so, you know, from my perspective, when you can play people close, whether it's, you know, North Texas, or whether it's Baylor, or whether it's Tarleton State or Stephen F. Austin, or whoever it is, to me that makes a whole lot more sense than it does, like I said, to play Rutgers. And just because, again, there's going to be, you know, there's going to be a better community of fans that can come and be a part of it, and that's really what it's about.
Your first time as a head coach in the game in 2018 was kind of a weird night with that weather delay, and just a
Yeah.
lot of things kind of happened early on. What do you recall from that night? You know, in your
Yeah,
experience?
well, I recall Turpin running a punt back for a touchdown and almost running another one back. Felt like, you know, we were in the game until that happened, and gave up a punt return for a touchdown, and like I said, another long punt return. So that's the kind of stuff that I remember. Not much else besides that, honestly.
Is there any update
Coach,
on Chandler Morris' status?
You know, nothing right now. I mean, I think, you know, he's starting to do some rehab. You know, I think for last week it was more of okay, rest and recover, and now it's more in the rehab mode and trying to get him going again. So I feel good about the timeline and where he is right now. You know, I don't know how this week's gonna play out. A lot of this stuff depends on, you know, you get him rested up, you try to get him healed, and then, you know, and then you start with a small amount of activity, see how he responds a little bit more, and then that kind of determines how quickly you end up where you want to end up. And so I think he's on track right now to get back pretty quickly, but we'll kind of see how the week plays out.
Coach, I'm not going to say this has never happened before, but I will say that it's pretty rare that somebody like you, rare for a coach, that this upcoming game, you're gonna pretty much know the strengths and weaknesses of every single player on the field.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
much of an advantage is that for you?
Oh, you know how it is. I mean, it's an advantage. It's also an advantage for our opponent in the fact that they have every single practice tape that we've run for 4 years. You know what I mean? Every play that we've run. So there's always familiarity between kind of, you know, when you get into a situation like this. And at the end of the day, these things are always come down to players, and it's about players. And you prepare your team the best you can, and every team has strengths and weaknesses, and that matters. I mean, obviously, when you understand somebody's personnel, that certainly helps. But at the end of the day, you know, now you've got to go out and those players have to make plays, and those guys, as coaches, we have to put them in good positions to go out and make those plays. So, you know, I think that it certainly doesn't hurt, but as I said earlier, you know, you got to say, well, that there's also probably an advantage for them by having all that additional tape and cut-ups and all the stuff of everything we've done over there for the last couple of years as well.
It's kind of a similar question, but how difficult will it be for these kids that you recruited and rooted for to now change and not help them, and I'm talking about the SMU players, of course, hoping they don't have success and being upset when they do?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, we recruited those players over there. You know, when you go through the recruiting process, a lot of those players chose to come to SMU because of a relationship, and the relationship is real, and you care about them, and you love them, and you invest in them, and they invest in you, and there's a bond and a trust that develops. And you know, and it's just like anything else. When a player chooses to enter the transfer portal, you're disappointed, but you certainly understand if they think that they're bettering their situation. And any player that left the portal or entered the portal when I was at SMU, it was the same thing. I was disappointed, wish it wouldn't have happened, but I certainly understand if they thought it was going to be beneficial to them. And I think it's kind of the same thing for me, and I think we all understand that, and I think we all appreciate that and respect that. And so I think that, you know, my hope is that the players know that we worked incredibly hard to put them in the best situation that we could to be successful. We had some success, not as much as we wanted, but we certainly had some. And, you know, and that's kind of the way it is. And I think everybody appreciates and understands that's the situation and the way things work sometimes. And, you know, and it's like anything else, you got to just kind of do the best you can and move on.
Coach, Max is approaching fourth on TCU's all-time passing yards list. I was wondering, what does that say about him as a player and his career as a point guard?
Well, he's played a lot of football. I mean, I think that's the big thing is, you know, I think he started his 30th game at TCU last Saturday, and there's not many, you know, college quarterbacks that can say they started 30 college football games. There's just not that many guys that have that kind of success and have that opportunity to play as early as Max did. And so he's, you know, he's a very accomplished quarterback in some of the things that he's done while he's been here at TCU. I think all you have to do is put the tape on. He's had a lot of big wins. You know, he's played in big environments. He's played with his back against the wall. And one thing you know about Max, he's always going to respond. I mean, he's incredibly tough physically, but I think he's even more tough-minded. And you know, I think that's one of the most important characteristics you're looking for from your quarterback is somebody that, you know, handles success and adversity the same. You know, just understands that, hey, look, if I go and I throw for 500 yards, that's great. And if I go and I throw 5 interceptions, that's not so great, but I got to figure out a way to keep improving and get better and put it behind me, whether it's good or bad.
Coach.
Abe was in here earlier, Coach.
So who was, I'm sorry? Abe. Okay, yeah.
We had to step up for Bud. How's he done in these 2 games?
Good. I mean, Abe was going to play a lot of football anyway because he's one of those guys that has deserved to play, and you know, I think he's played well. Thought he made a bunch of plays in week 1. You know, I think it's interesting, you know, when you play different styles, teams, and different style of games, there's going to be some players that stand out because they get challenged consistently during the game, and there's other games where guys aren't going to get challenged as much, and they're either going to have success or they're going to have failure. And sometimes, you know, the ball may not go to a certain guy, but that guy may not have covered that receiver particularly well, and it's still not a good play for you, even though they just didn't happen to throw it to him. And so, I guess having said that, you know, the last 2 weeks, I've been impressed with the way Abe's played. I thought he has tackled well. I think you go back and look at, especially against Colorado, a lot of open field tackles, did a great job getting guys on the ground. And, you know, I thought he's covered pretty well as well. And so, you know, he's had some opportunities to make interceptions. He's been in the right place, I think, consistently. You know, he can really run. He's a guy that's very athletic and gets started very quickly, and can start and stop and do all the things that you want a good defensive back to be able to do. And so I like his attitude and the way that he's worked. And you know, it's like anything else. We will certainly be better when Bud comes back, because now there's going to be two guys playing that position, and they're going to be able to spell each other, keep each other fresh, and that'll contribute to our success.
Is Bud closer?
Yeah, I think so. Same thing with Bud. Bud's kind of on the same thing as Chandler, you know, in terms of we're pushing him a little bit more and seeing how he reacts and where he's at. You know, and I would think by Friday or Saturday we'll have a pretty good indication of whether or not he's going to be available next week.
Coach, you guys are 2-0, and as you mentioned earlier, 18 different guys touched the ball. Has that helped in y'all's recruiting efforts? Have guys been reaching out to you guys?
Well, I think it's like anything else. I don't know that most high school seniors know that. You know what I mean? You've got to try to kind of get your message out a little bit. You know, I think anytime that you have young players that have success, I think that helps you in recruiting. I think that people, you know, high school kids will look at you and say, well, this kid came in and played as a freshman and had a lot of success. You know, there's also two ways to look at that. If, you know, for example, and this happened to us certainly when I was at Cal, you know, we had Jared Goff. He came in and started as a freshman. Well, if you were a high school quarterback, you know, you could look at Cal at the time and go, well, you know, had a lot of success with this freshman quarterback, but at the same time they were going, well, I'm not going there. You know, why would I go sit behind this guy for however many years? And so it's like with everything else, there's kind of a positive and a negative about a lot of different things. But I know it helps our team. You know, that's the one thing I do know, is that when you can get a lot of different players involved, it helps the morale of your program, it helps young players develop, it helps wear and tear on the older guys, and I think it's, you know, I think it's really valuable, you know, to be able to spread the football around and have a lot of different people participate in you know, in success. And so I think that does help in recruiting. I think you know, it certainly opens some people's eyes and certainly doesn't hurt.
This past weekend, there were quite a few big upsets, whether it be Notre Dame going down to Marshall or Nebraska and so forth, Texas A&M. I mean, seeing all that go on, is that more of a motivational message to your players or a cautionary tale, or how do you react?
Well, I think it just depends. I mean, I think sometimes, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some games that we're a favorite in the rest of the year, I think. And I'm sure there'll be some that we're an underdog in. And so, you know, I think the one thing that you learn the longer you're in this business, and it's one of the things that I have to do a good job about teaching our players, is just understanding that, you know, you have to go out and you have to play as well as you can play, regardless of who you're playing against. And, you know, those, like I said, the days of circling these games and all that, I mean, those are long gone. I think that, you know, the one thing that we have to do as a program, and if you go back and you look really at the last 3 years at TCU, you know, I think we're 0-11 against SMU, West Virginia, Kansas State, and Iowa State. We haven't beat any of those teams since 2018. And so, you know, that's a long time to not beat some of those teams. And so, you know, I don't know why, I don't know, but again, that's a trend, and it's something that, you know, that we have to get fixed. And this is our opportunity a week from Saturday to beat one of those teams and to try to get back on the right track when it comes to playing against some teams that seem to have had our number here recently.